she would prefer to do it this way, we're good.
Well, what I have here is, I took the time to write it out so it would go efficiently and not be so cumbersome, because it is a lot, and that way you have a point of reference. Last week, not last week, but the last meeting, Jamie and Dawn were both out, and we brought up Monument Park, and you guys were very generous with your time to discuss that. And one of the things the neighbors were experiencing was lights out in the park, and it wasn't a good thing because it was activity after dark and they couldn't quite see what was going on, but they knew it wasn't good. And so Jamie was doing some research, and along with our janitor, not janitor, he's our maintenance supervisor, what am I saying, and Steve, and they discovered that the reason, well, nobody was getting back to them, but Jamie pursued and was successful in getting through to Med-Ed, because what we discovered was that Med-Ed actually owns those lights, not the County of Lebanon. And so therefore, they should have been upkeeping them, but they're sodium vapor, and they'd like everything changed to LED. And it gets a little bit complicated because, you know, I'd like to see uniform lights, more of them, Victorian style, so it's with the period of the park when it was created, etc. And the bottom line is, if we install our own lights, they want to switch it that we have to pay for the electricity. I didn't know the viability. Am I getting it backwards?
No, we pay the electricity.
They just own the lights. Okay.
They own the lights just as they're treated just like street lights.
Okay.
So when they were originally installed, they were installed, owned, maintained by Med-Ed. We pay an electric bill for the park.
Well, then it's not quite as, if we're already paying it, it might not be quite as important, but I didn't know if, because of the trees, maybe on the perimeter, but if solar lights would solve having to pay the bill. But we could use the ARPA funds, and we could get this situation corrected. We want everybody to be safe. And number 2 is the flagpole, which needs painted. I got notified by the official veteran who is took over from Miser, and he asked to have it painted again. He said it's time. And so I thought, well, again, if we have these funds and we're using them on our parks, we, you know, like we did some to Governor Dick, some to the rail trail, whatever, that we should also do Monument Park. And Jamie had an estimate, I want to say, before or around the pandemic.
2018.
2018, okay, which was around $16,000. And it would obviously have to be updated, but then that would be more maintenance-free, so that we can, you know, have a good-looking pole all the time and not have to keep going back and scraping and painting and renting equipment to get up high to do it. The next thing are flower pots and benches. Again, I think that with those kinds of things, if everything was uniform and period to the Victorian era, I think it would be really, really a nice park. And it is not a really nice park now, but to get to that really, really part, I'd like to see those improvements. We talked about them before. We have an opportunity that we can't let slip by. If we get this under contract, I think it would be very, very helpful. So my ask is that Danielle and Steve and Jamie on the outskirts, because he has so much on his table, but that they work together to make this happen for us, and that we authorize them to use, get us bids, and then we can do a formal vote later. But I think they need to know that we're all in support of this, and so I respectfully ask that we do move ahead with this and get this on our...
I'm in support of, you know, taking a look.
That's fine.
Okay. So do we need a vote, Jamie, to do this?
I mean, you certainly
If
can. You're not entering into contracts or anything like that. You're just.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Commission to take a look at.
I'll make a motion just so it's formal. I make a motion so that Monument Park gets evaluated by our staff and Jamie, and comes back with prices so we can vote on using ARPA funds to make these upgrades.
Second.
Any questions regarding the motion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Okay, thank you. I really, really appreciate that. And then the next thing is that Commissioner Kuhn brought to our attention that the CLA would like to move the car show downtown, not from downtown because of construction, to out here like the street fair used to do, but this is the first time the city is not part of the building. So I thought maybe it's an opportunity that we could establish under what parameters those uses would happen. For instance, developing a form to collect names, addresses, EIN numbers, those sorts of things. Requesting a certificate of insurance that would protect us with our insurance company. Determining if setup itself and the event, as well as tear down, all takes place on the same day, or would there be overnight involved? And if it is overnight, sometimes I know with the street fair, they put up that orange fencing around so that people were off the grass and our security of our building wasn't compromised, number one, but number two, tripping on routes, camping, all those kinds of things. We want to make sure, you know, that the grounds are respected, that we have our safety and security at the top of the list. And it would also allow the sheriff to review the application for the purposes of security and monitoring and determining if they have to have extra staff here to keep an eye on things. And if they did, then overtime would become part of the ask from the users. Also, Jamie was very strong about picking up the litter, making sure it was disposed of. And I think it would have to be added at the local Greater Lebanon Refuse Authority. Any garbage from here has to be deposited there. It can't be taken and dumped along a road. It can't, if they're from out of county, it can't be taken back to another county. And that we would also be able to check that a valid city permit is issued and that all local, state, and federal laws and regulations are being followed. Whether it's collecting sales tax or, I don't know, I can't even think of all of them that might come up. But so I'm asking to establish a policy, and I would make a motion to do so and let Jamie and whoever work out the details on the policy.
Before I offer a second, just as a comment, I'm not opposed to the idea of establishing a policy if in fact a request comes forward. But this specific request, I don't think we can hold the CLA up. The CLA as an organization has been bringing people downtown and promoting downtown Lebanon. Because of the situation on Cumberland Street, they can't hold their auto show there, and this is, I think, I can't anticipate this is going to be, so I think this can be done with a meeting with Jamie and whoever he needs to involve from our building, sheriff's office, maintenance, and probably on a handshake, get this done, because they need an answer that the date today.
I respect that and I accept that, but I still use this as an opportunity to make sure that we're looking at the long term. We've had out-of-town people wanting to use our grounds, and we'd always have to defer to the city for this and that. And I just think it's important that we do establish a policy much like Monument
So
Park.
if you'd be willing to amend
Yes.
your
to allow
motion
Jamie to work
for
things out.
future events.
Yes, for future events,
requests
and
that
Jamie
they're-
can work it out with.
Establish,
Yeah.
you can draft a policy.
That's fine.
I have a question.
Uh,
Can I ask them?
Sure.
It says on the courthouse ground, so do you mean the street here or the parking lot?
We'll see our parking lots, all three parking lots, the grass, things like that.
They specifically asked, you know, they want to use the street for
The
their
street is the
event,
city.
But they ask to
Is
use the
that-
parking lot.
Pardon?
Oh.
They ask to use the parking
The
lot.
parking lots.
Instead of the street?
No.
No, no, no.
All
They're
of
gonna use
them.
the street for their event, but.
People park on the parking
Allow people
lots.
to park.
But if they
You would
cut
use that for
across, they're gonna,
parking.
you know, if they cut across or they wanna camp out overnight, you know. And like I say, this might not apply to the car show because it's a short period, but there are others who have used it going way back, you know, over the many years that we could get into some real situations if we don't establish policy, in my humble opinion.
Well, go ahead.
I guess I would need in this process a lot of clarification on when this is to be in place, when it's not. For example, it is the courthouse, so we have a number of people who just want to have a press conference on the steps of the courthouse.
Yeah, that's
They
fine.
don't have an EIN number, they aren't going to have insurance. Are they denied? Because I think that's potentially a real problem if you say, well, it's the courthouse steps, but you can't use it because you don't have a proof of insurance. So, you know, I just had someone email and call to have some sort of a veterans suicide awareness event out front. Probably wants to set up tables and so on. I have no idea if they have all of these things. So I guess where is that line where someone simply wants to use the courthouse steps because it's a public building and it's a public place and they use it for, you know, notoriety or whatever, to something is considered an event?
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I think that I agree with you that perhaps up to 1 hour or 2 hours, for instance, the day of prayer happens out front. I don't want to stop that. Those are come and go. But when they're bringing in toilets and all kinds of things like that, I mean, then we have to have a policy. Are they setting those toilets on our lawns, or must they be set on the street, or can they be set on the sidewalk? I think we need those kinds of thoughtful things when it becomes more than just, you know, a few minutes to an hour.
And I think we have those things in place already, because Jamie and the folks that secure the building, be it the sheriff or be it the staff that takes care of the grounds, they all walk around with the folks that, because of the uniqueness of these events. And the fact that if you're going to use the street fair as an example with the fencing and everything, that is no more, and that is, you know, so rare that I would hate to have something as cumbersome as this and so maybe restrictive, and I don't think we need it, is my opinion. I'll go with the majority, but I just feel like this is an overreach as far as what's worked in the past is common sense and case-by-case basis. I'd rather it be continued on a case-by-case basis to let Jamie and the folks involved make those decisions, whether it's an acceptable or under what restrictions and guidelines would be needed to have an event of whatever scale here. But I think it's going to be very difficult to compose something that's going to fit.
Just point of clarification, again, I agree with all the comments you just made. And again, my second in support of this is to say I would consider, if someone wants to draft, but that doesn't mean I would endorse the concept that we would approve it. I'll look at it.
I'm just announcing in advance
I
that it
don't
won't
think,
be.
I don't think it's needed at this point, but, you know, I guess Commissioner Litz makes a point. If someone did request a large event, if we have something, I'd be willing to take a look at it.
Well, and respectfully in rebuttal, then are we going to throw out what we have at Monument Park established? Because it's kind of the same thing, but on a grander scale, because this is much more area, much more, I can't say much more liability, but again, it just makes sense to me. If we have it for one property, we should have it for our courthouse as well. And also because we have security here with the courthouse that's heightened because of we come in here to work.
I would offer that, I do think there's a difference there. My personal opinion is that that's a park. It's a public park, intended for public use for all variety of reasons, for people, you know, relax or whatever they do there. This is a place of government business. And again, I guess my thoughts keep going back to, if somebody just simply wants to be here because it's the courthouse, and you said after that, well, if it's less than an hour, well, I mean, you can, you can have a rally, a protest, many things that can happen within an hour, draw 300 people, and it's over with, which would create a whole lot of need for attention services, and all that, versus somebody just wants to come and use the steps to announce their candidacy.
Well, then it could
Again, I
be
don't know that-
at the discretion of the commissioners or at the discretion of your judgment if that's written up that way.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we have a motion and a second to do it, and we've, with the amendment that we will allow for the car show because of the urgency, and it's a one-time request because of the issue of the downtown roads and sidewalks. So, is there any outside questions or comments regarding this motion as it stands? If not, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Aye. 2-1, it passes. And we'll take a look. See where it goes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, then the next one kind of resolved itself, but it was publicly posted. A question from Chris Coyle concerning an ATM here at the courthouse. And again, Jamie had the exact history on this, which is that two banks did have an ATM here, one on the first floor and one in the basement, just to try different locations, and both ended up pulling them out for lack of use. So I just wanted to inform you that that was a question in case you got the same
Thank you.
question.
Thank you.
And the final thing is that under that post, I posted about the new water fountain, and under that post, people took advantage to say, well, what about this at the courthouse? And since I'm in charge of building and grounds, I felt compelled to bring this to your attention. And that is that the bathrooms inside are pretty much handicap accessible because we have larger stalls and lower sinks. And Jamie even had the latches lowered so that people in wheelchairs can reach to open and close. But the heaviest door is getting in, and the handle's very high. And evaluating the request, I thought we really should have automatic openers on 1 or 2 floors to accommodate opening and closing that door for people in wheelchairs or lower, low body strength, whatever. So I respectfully request, I'll make a motion to look into this and come back with some estimates and recommendations by our staff.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I'm not sure, for somebody to look at that issue and to talk about it requires a motion, but if this is part of the theater here today. If you want, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, Jamie, what's next?